Hockey friends and families around the world, and welcome to another episode of Our Kids Play Hockey. Last one of the year almost. I'm Lee Elias, joined as always by Christie, Cashiana Burns, and Mike Benelli. We're recording this right in that space. We're releasing it right in this space between the holidays and the home stretch of the season. That's when this is being released. And look, the skates might be hanging up in the garage. Your kids might be half asleep on the couch. Maybe you're trying to decide if you want another nap, or maybe your kids are playing in 15,642 tournaments right now. You're not getting a break. You're drinking too much coffee. You're shaking at the hands because it's been happening now for 4 months and you just need a break. Wherever you're at on that journey, we're talking about how to reset, refocus, and rekindle today for players, parents, and coaches about the importance of using this time to recharge and realign for the rest of the year. I will tell you right now, yes, you can do this. And this does not matter if your team is undefeated, if your team is in the middle, high, low, or if you haven't won a game all season. It is important. We will talk about this. It is so important right now as you go into January and February, which is basically the last month of the season and into playoffs, you take a moment to just look at things from those three things. So, Mike, let me start with you just about the reflection point, right? Because I think the starting point is you just got to reflect for a moment on the first 3 quarters of the season, right? And what are the questions you should maybe be asking yourself as a player, coach, and parent before you start to look forward?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of it is like I'd like to look at through, if you're a parent and a player, right, you have to look at it through the lens of the coach, right, and the organization. So at this point, your coach has a couple of different options right now. They're fine-tuning their lineup and they're in like the heat of the battle and the hunt for playoffs. And if you're at that level and in that region right now, that, you know, games and points and my hockey rankings and those kind of things really, really matter, then your coach is saying, okay, well, I kind of know my players now. I know who's going to play the most, who's not going to play. And hopefully that coach is communicating this to the team and to the players individually and letting them know, like, hey, listen, this is what you signed up for. We are in a playoff hunt. This means a lot to our team and our program and our philosophy of what we want to do. And we have to be prepared for that. Now, if you're in another organization that knows, you know, you're out of it, there's no chance of making the playoffs. You're not tournament bound. You're in a place where it doesn't really matter day to day what your record is. Then your coach might be approaching this in a different way. They might be approaching this as, oh, well, how do I finish my developmental structure? How do I improve the players that I have on the team? How do I make it so much fun over these next 2 or 3 months that all my players want to come back and play for me? So there's all these little different things that are going on in a coach's mind that the players and the parents have to see, like, how is this coach reacting to where we are right now in the season? Because, you know, we joke around a lot on the show, right? That you start thinking about tryouts in November and sometimes, and now in October. And because now there's tryouts, like most of our teams, all right, are going to be getting emails in the next 2 weeks for spring tryouts. And all of a sudden that changes people's perspective on the way the team is going, because at any individual weekend, it's, oh, I'm out of here. Like, oh, I'm going to go, that team's having a tryout. I'm thinking about that team. So now a coach has to juggle all of those things about losing players, keeping players, recruiting players, because he knows he's losing players. It's a really hard time of the year. And the only way to combat it in the best way, I think, is communication.
Well, and before we dive into the parent stuff, and Christy, I'm going to lean on you for that. Mike, something you and I talk about a lot that I know you'll agree with me on here too is 2 parts here, right? Is one, establishing roles for your players. You talked about, you know, your players at this point. I don't think there's anything wrong at any age group of establishing roles. Now, the role at the younger age is not you're the worst player on the team, you don't play. That's not what I mean. I'm saying you kind of know who your scorers are, you know who your passers are, you know who's excelling, and you know who needs more development. It's okay to give those roles out in a positive way so the kids can embrace those roles, especially if you have a good team, like a team that's really winning. I shouldn't even say good team, a team that's winning right now. It's okay to have that. Another thing too is this, coaches, I'm talking to you directly. It's a really great time to ask the coaches from the age up, what are you looking for these kids when they graduate to your age level? We don't do this enough. So again, every team should be doing this, but especially if your team is struggling in the win-loss column this year, that's a great question to ask of how can I help prepare these kids for for the rest of this season, but also next season. We did a great episode on the benchmarks for each age group, and so many people were shocked by where they thought their kids should be at a certain age versus where they really should be at that age. Obviously broadly, right? Every kid's a little bit different, but ask that question. But again, figure out the roles. If you're not in the win-loss column the right way, change the win. The win can be, hey, look, we're going to compete. We're going to try and play 3 periods, things like that. Think coaches, the messages you're giving your kids. But speaking of messages,
Yes.
parents, messages too, right, Christie?
That's right. So let's come at it from a hockey mom perspective. And I have been on both ends of the spectrum. This time of the season can be really rough, especially if your kids are on a losing streak and they've had a losing season. But let me first spin it around to the positive section. It can be glorious if your kids are having a winning season. I go back to my daughter's high school hockey season when they were undefeated. It was a perfect season, and they ended up winning the state championship. That was easy. We never wanted to see the season end. So I'm not going to talk about that because you don't need any help when your kids have got great chemistry, great coaching,
congratulations,
great leadership. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
And you say, oh my gosh, let's make this last forever. So enjoy it because it's fleeting. It goes fast. So let's talk about what happens when you're dead smack in the middle of a losing season. It is rough. You just want to pack it in. You want to give up on the team. You want to pull your kid off the team and say, this isn't worth it. But I have to tell you, it is worth it because you can actually get closer and you can actually help these kids learn some valuable lessons from a losing season. It's rough. It's rough to go into that rink when everyone says, oh, there's the losing team, or these kids, we're gonna crush them. So don't look at the scoreboard. Look at the individual victories. Help your kids look from shift to shift. How did I do this shift? Did I pass better? Did I pick up some speed? Was my attention to what my coach was trying to do with this team spot on? So look for those little individual victories and not at the scoreboard. That's my best advice for you. And try to do things that'll help lift the kids. They know they're losing. They know it's rough, but there are things you can do to encourage them and to lift their spirits.
Yeah, Christie, I'll say this too. You're so right from a parenting standpoint. And, Mike and I have to juggle the dad and the coach role.
Yeah.
And that can be hard, right? I mean, really, especially with your own kids, right? Because, we do hold them to a pretty high standard.
Right.
With that stuff. But we also get to observe a lot. And, look, I observe a lot across the board. I have seen parents really get on their kids after a game. I've also seen parents be very uplifting. Parents be the uplifting parent.
Yeah.
All right. Most of the time. I'll say it like that, right? I'm not saying you have to be a happy clapper every single day. And, if your kid put 5 goals in your net, I'm not saying, oh, it's okay, you try. That's not what we're saying.
Right.
All right. You got to go game by game and just kind of like, you need to be the safe place for your kid to go after the game.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
That's
Well,
how I think
what Christie was saying too, it's so easy when you're winning to keep going in that direction. And it's really easy when you're losing to now stop doing the things that are right to do, like preparation and being aggressive in your training and making sure you don't, like, it's easy when you're a losing team and it just spirals, right? That when you're not winning at certain points, you start saying, oh, well, I can miss this practice for my lacrosse training session, or I can miss this because, oh, I got some homework to do. And that's great. And I'm like, okay, well, of course, if you have a big test or so, but all of this comes into timing, right? In a winning team, somebody somehow finds a way to get their homework done and make practice.
100%.
On a losing team, somebody says, I'm just going to stay home, get my homework done because the practice doesn't mean much. And then it just, now all of a sudden you go out and you see 6 kids out of the practice. So it's our job as coaches to keep the pedal to the metal and keep driving players and parents to understand that the mission is not to win, love winning, but the mission is to develop, get better, love the sport, love your teammates, love being in this atmosphere. And it is, to me, that's coaching. Like, you get an opportunity now to try to make this opportunity of a losing team fun and energized and impactful. And that's the hardest job, is to do that in a negative environment.
It is hard, especially when you get a certain group of parents that love to do the finger pointing and do the blame game. Oh, it's because of this coach. Oh, it's because of that kid. Oh, it's because of these parents. Everybody's pointing the finger of blame. And it just tears you up even more. It makes the season even harder. You know why? It's like, oh, not only are they losing, but I got to listen to all that. It's like, time out, enough. But I think there are things that everybody can do to try and, override all of that,
Well, I'm going to attack this from 2 points. I'm going to talk to the coaches and then the parents. So, Mike, isn't it funny, Christie, isn't it funny? You said the kids who kind of miss practices. I always talk about the standard. I don't know too many teams that are winning that don't have high standards, right? But habitually, teams with low standards become losers, okay, in terms of the win-loss column. I don't mean the kids are losers, okay? So I have coached teams where we do not have a great record, but the standards are so high. Everyone shows up. Everyone wants to be there. And these kids battle and they work hard and they get better, right? I've also seen teams where those standards slip away. And that's when you get the, I don't feel like showing up. Coaches, it's your job to make sure that standard does not slip. Parents, it's your job to support the coach with those standards. All right. Now, if you're sitting there going, my coach doesn't have any standards, that's not good either. Okay. But the record, I just wrote this down, the record. This is not the NHL. The record does not matter. Okay? I always say this. I'm going to say this as a question, Mike. Do you think as coaches we don't want to win every game? Of course we want to win every game. We want to win every game. But I don't have the New York Rangers lineup. All right? I've got what I've got. And my job is not to win the Stanley Cup as a youth coach. My job is to, as Mike said, help these kids love the game and develop them. And this is the second point I was going to make. I've been coaching long enough, and Mike, I'm glad you're here to back me up on this, because this is going to come across almost as pompous without your support on this. But it's like, parents, do you know how ridiculous it sounds to us as coaches in youth hockey, especially the younger ages, when you come up to us talking about the record, right? Like we kind of laugh at you when you bring that up, okay? Because I'm going to say it again. Of course we care about winning and losing. That's not where I'm going. But that we're not playing the games. We're trying to develop your kids to be the best hockey player possible. The record's kind of the result of that, right? And that's not meaning that wins is a better result than losses. It's just that's the outcome. Go ahead, Mike.
I would just like to sit in a room of 100 parents that want to talk about records and then really talk about, and this is something I don't know why I don't bring it up more in a public setting, probably because I want to keep friends and try to keep people liking me. But I think when I look at somebody and they go, "Wow, we beat that team 10-8 last time." I go, "Yeah, but they didn't have 4 players and they played this other goalie, never normally their goalie." And then, "Oh, we lost, that team beat that team, and that team beat that team." I'm like, "Why are you worrying about all this? Like, none of this in youth hockey matters." I know it matters. I get it, but it really doesn't matter. To me, if it was only coming from parents that never played sports, I would almost be like, I chalk it up as, oh, that's just a group of people that don't understand any sport.
That's how we look at it. Yeah,
but the problem is, it comes from people that know the sport. It comes from people that wore NHL hockey jerseys.
Yeah,
like it still comes, and because you become a parent, the minute you have a parent and you're watching your child, you become, there's something happens in your brain that you lose the real perspective of what every day was like when you were a child. Yeah. Waking up, loving going to the rink, being in the locker room with your friends, learning something in practice, accomplishing a goal as a team, having a coach praise you and give you a star in your helmet. So like, to me, that's the victories. Those are the wins. And if you follow that model, more times than not, you are going to be a winning team. If you follow the standard and you follow the model, you can't do anything about the teams you're playing. You can't do anything about the league you're in. You can't do anything about the fact that this other team was able to bring in a bunch of kids that weren't even developed in their organization, and they just put together an all-star team. You cannot combat that. It has nothing to do with you. So all you can do is go into a game, go into a weekend and make sure your kids got better. And if they lost, they learned something from that loss somehow,
Right.
some way, somehow. And then that's why I get very offended when I hear about a coach and I watch coaches and call themselves coaches, and it makes me feel less as a coach, because I'm
Yeah.
like, you're not a coach. You're just a manager of a team. You're just somebody that is going on the bench. You're not coaching. You're not developing. I haven't seen a lesson plan, a lineup, a speech, a goal, a forecast, nothing from you. So don't call yourself a coach in this time of year right now. If you're a coach and you're losing, you gotta learn how to put your players in a great situation. If you're a coach and you're winning, then you got to find a way to manage those winners so that when it comes down to the playoffs, that everybody feels they're contributing and everybody feels that they're needed. Because when you lose your best player, Christie, you've seen this a million times, right? That best player plays. And all of a sudden on February 13th, they get hurt. And now somebody's got to step up and play in that player's situation and fill that void. And all too often, we haven't prepared those other players to be that player. And we haven't done anything to make them feel like they could play that role. And you'll see teams all of a sudden, that's how they lose. Because you can't just ride your best athletes all the time. You have to learn to find a way to bring your team in. And that's, I think, this time of year, the early January, the mid-season, going into what I call like the new season or the real season or the season that really matters when it comes to like playoff hockey and meaningful hockey. It's how are you managing your personnel to make sure that everybody's in a winning attitude and a winning way, where anybody could step in and play a role, as you were talking about earlier, in doing something to help the team win. Right.
And that takes some confidence building too, because if you're playing your star players all the time, the kids that are 2, 3, fourth string have no confidence because you never gave them the opportunity to develop. So it's important to develop them now.
If you think you're coaching a high school team right now, and your like third and fourth line kids never see the ice, you're winning a game 10-1, and they don't see the ice, they're not part of the team. Do not expect them to come back out for your team next year. And you wonder why all these teams, like I'm in New York State, right? We see team after team after team folding, team after team after team co-oping. 9 schools having to go together to have one team. Why? Because coaches aren't developing the players that are coming up. They're playing the best players that they have. When those best players leave, there's nothing to fill the void. You don't have a team. You've got to find a way to put players in a situation where they want to come back and play for you because they know there's a chance. They know that getting up at 5 a.m. means something. They know that eating right means something. They know that watching film means something. Not, hey, just do all those things. Oh, but by the way, you're never going to get a chance to play anyway.
Right.
I'm going to say this too, guys. Mike, you and I have coached at virtually almost every level now. Very, very high levels, very young levels. And I have found the common theme to successful coaching at every level is it really comes down to two primary things. One is helping the athletes become the best versions of themselves, period. That's people, that's player, that's everything. When you focus on that, you tend to do a pretty good job. The other thing too, this is a double one, is the best coaches really care about their athletes. All right. We've said this in previous episodes, parents of youth hockey players, I can only speak for myself and Mike, but this is probably true for most coaches. You don't know how much we care about your kids. We really, really care about your kids. That's not every coach. And I do understand that. All right. I'm sure there's people at home thinking, well, that guy didn't care. That guy's not a great coach, or that person's not a great coach. Okay. I'm telling all the coaches out there, the keys to success, it's not your tactical acumen. That's a good thing to have in your cap. Don't get me wrong. It's, are you dedicated to helping these players become the best versions of themselves? And do you care about your players? The other stuff tends to come pretty easily when you do that. Okay. And then Mike, to your point too, we've got teams right now. I've got teams where I've got, I'm thinking one specifically, I've got 4 really good players, and we've instructed the coaching staff, we're going to coach those kids, but we really need to focus on the other 10 to 15 players on the team, because the truth is this, without them playing well, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good 4 players are not going to win us what we want to win or what we want to accomplish. So everyone deserves that type of thing. So listen, I want to say this too. The reason why we're heavy on the stuff that we're talking about is two Refocus, you have to understand where you're coming from. So
Right.
these are some of the things we're talking about to get a grip on, right? So that's the reflection half of the episode.
Well,
Let's
it's
look
cool,
forward.
but it's cool, right? It's cool that you have this little break because you get
Right.
to come in and you could make people forget about November. You could make people forget about early December. You can. If you're coaching a team, you could come in. If you come in your first practice in January and you've changed everything, winning and losing, it doesn't matter. If you've changed everything, your smile, your attitude, your preparation, music, the lighting, if you change everything, people will remember that. They will forget about September.
Well,
they will.
Here's one too. I'm going to say it.
They have short memories.
It's
right.
It's going to be a groaner for some of the more competitive people out there, but I'm going to say it. You have got to have fun while you're doing this.
Right.
People go, oh, fun. Yeah, it's got to be fun.
Yeah.
It does have to be fun. It's got to be fun. All right. You got to find a way to make it fun again. And then listen, things to reset: the fun, the team culture. Mike said it. You can change everything. What's the win? And I think that's the first thing is stepping forward. Now, where are you at and what's your win? Is your win the championship? If that's your win, start preparing for things to win a championship. Is your win to be competitive down the line? Is your win to just try and get a win? Is your win to develop? Redefine your wins, plural, because you can have more than one, and start preparing your team for that. A mistake I see a lot of teams make it. I was just talking about this in team building with the organizations I work with, is not talking about what it is that you want to accomplish. All right. And it's funny, in hockey, there's this stigma about, like, players don't touch the Stanley Cup till they want it, right? Which I totally get that. But they think about winning the Stanley Cup. It's not like they don't think about it. Some teams don't talk about it. They're very focused on what they're doing. But if you don't think they have their goals set for what they want to accomplish, you're crazy, right? So we can do that too, no matter what the age, right? Kids listening, you can have goals too. Maybe it's time now to revisit, what did you want to accomplish this season? Where are you along the lines with accomplishing that season? And then don't beat yourself up if you're not where you thought you would be. Reset. You've got 2 months left. What do you want to accomplish? Are you in a position where you can talk to your coach about, these are the things I want to accomplish? Parents, not you, the kids. I want to see the kids come up to me and say, Coach, I really want to get better at these 3 skills before the end of the season. I would love that as a coach. I want to coach you, right? Tell me what you want to get better at, right? Don't assume that I'm watching you all the time. And I know that I always try and give every kid everything I got. I think anyone who knows me believes that. But I cannot coach all 15 kids at once, right? If a kid comes up to me and says, hey, I really want to get a better, I'll say it, Michigan. Sure. Put it out there. I don't care. I'll help you with that as long as you're willing to learn how to do a proper shot and skate. I'll teach you in Michigan. All right. It's actually not that hard to learn. I'm not going to lie to you. All right. I'm also going to teach you never to do this in a game unless the specific situation comes up. We want to coach you. Go to your coaches. Parents, here's one note for you. If your kids write out a list of things they want to work on, they go to the coach.
Right.
And the coach kind of ignores them. That's something to pay attention to.
Yeah.
All right. My gut is most of you will be pleasantly surprised. Okay. But these are things to think about. All right. Mike said it earlier too, moving forward. If you're already in next season in your head, I think you're doing yourself a disservice. I'm not saying it shouldn't be on your radar. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. All right. But like, if you're already next season, you're checked out of this season. You're totally checked out. And odds are you're telling your kids that too. You know how I know that? Because I hear the chatter. All right. I'm focused on this season. All right. Yes, I do have thoughts, but I'm focused on this season because that's where your kids are right now. Okay. That's where I have to be. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying that's the reason in college football, right? You can have a top football coach, change jobs and then be extracted from the team because you can't focus on 2 things at once. You can't do it. You can't be a coach that wants your team to be successful and thinking about how you're building your new team come April. Because if you're out recruiting and you're out looking for players now and you're giving up on the team that you currently have, that is shown in every aspect of what you do. It's very hard for coaches to hide that. It's very hard especially in the youth hockey world. It's not like this is everybody knows where everybody is, right? So if you're in a town where 3 kids are leaving your program and it's January, it's a very hard thing to do to rejuvenate that team because those parents are like, we're leaving no matter what. So Now, those 3 players that are leaving, the next 3 players think they got to leave. The last 3 players don't know what to
it's
do
infectious.
because now there's no team. So it's just a vicious cycle of this. So again, if you didn't get ahead of it in September by laying out, what your team is and what your philosophy is, then this is a really good time to reevaluate some of this, regroup the people on your team and the families, and maybe look at and reflect a little bit now and say, well, what can I do over the next 3 months that I wasn't doing that could kind of recuperate what we were doing with our team? And if it means adding a day in where you can meet with players individually, if it means giving out a progress report, if it means having some kind of interaction with your players from a personal level, then do those things. If you really want to save your team and save your program and have a better team next year, this is the time of year to build those bridges.
I want to say too on that, Mike, because I'm in a weird situation right now where I'm going to be taking over the reins next year for a current team that I'm an assistant coach on. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. No, thank you. It's a youth team,
Breaking
right?
news.
Right. Yeah. It's a youth team, and the parents on the team know about this.
That's great.
Yeah. And and the reason it's happening is because of logistics for the other coach. It's it's an understandable situation, right?
Yeah.
We'll say that. And it's funny because I have kind of repeatedly said it, and this has been a fun thing for me is, man, I really love coaching. I really love coaching. I love coaching hockey.
And you're good at it.
Yeah, but thank you. I really appreciate that. But it's funny because I keep saying to the parents, I will coach whatever kids are in front of me. Well, you don't have this, you don't have this, you don't have that. I will coach whatever kids are in front of me.
Yeah.
All right. I would love to get really great athletes here. I'd be lying if I said I hope that doesn't happen. Of course, I want that.
Sure.
Okay. But I will coach whoever is in front of me because I love coaching.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And I'm going to say it again, whether we win every game, lose every game, which is not the goal, I will coach whoever is in front of me. And it's like, that is really my philosophy. So, and I'm not speaking to anyone in specific, I'm being very broad now. But if you want to go someplace else for the record or for the apparel or whatever, I'm honestly okay with that. I've had parents say this, convince me to stay. That is not my job. All right. That is not my role, is to convince you to be here. First off, that puts me in a really awkward position as coach, where it almost feels like I owe you something, which I don't. I'm dedicating every minute of the day, right? Like I'm dedicating plenty of time.
But I think parents that own businesses would understand this most, right? If an employee comes to you and says, "Hey, make me an offer to make me stay, give me something to make me stay," you're probably losing that employee. At that point, you've known they're probably looking. You probably know they've been out there searching. Right. You probably know they haven't really found because nobody's picked it up yet, right? That if they're asking you, then they want to leave.
Yeah.
Now again, if it's money, if it's apparel, if it's a new office, whatever it is, right? That is temporary. It's almost like when I hear coaches give goalies, "Hey, if you come play goalie for me, no charge." Why? You play more than anybody.
Yeah.
What do you mean no charge? Find me the kids that want to play for me, and I will coach them up like nobody's coached them before.
And this is how I've done this. This is what we're doing. I've made it very clear. This is my coaching philosophy, and if you'd like to be a part of that, come on out. And I swear to you, I mean what I'm about to say, because people are gonna think I might be sarcastic if I don't say that. If you're going somewhere else, I truly wish you the best.
Yeah.
I really mean that. I want your kid to have fun. If they're gonna have more fun someplace else, I hope, have fun someplace. I'm okay with it, because the be all end all for me is not winning the championship at this level. It's your kids love the game, they're growing. You know what? It's funny what I do think about sometimes, and again, you guys know I'm a pretty present person, but I do daydream sometimes about the kids I coach in 10 years.
Yeah.
What do they turn into in high school, or what do they turn into in college?
Yeah.
And I think about that from a success point. I can't wait to see that kid succeed.
Right.
All right. And again, look, I hope no one's rolling their eyes at that. I really mean, I'm genuine with that.
No, but that's a life moment. I mean, before my father passed away, it was funny. He was like, I'm going to miss the most? I'm going to miss knowing what my grandkids became as people. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? That's funny because that's how I think about the players I coach. I'm like, wow, if I could influence this player here, I wonder what they're going to end up looking like. And the thing is, I use that as a positive or negative. I'm like, listen, this stuff you're doing now, And I know there's tendencies. I could tell you right now, I see players at 19, 20 years old that didn't make it or something happened in their career with a tendency that I knew and we told them about and we worked on when they were 9. And it's
Yeah.
like, if this is your tendency, if this is what you're going to do, we want to fix it. But what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to go to the best team and play for that team. I'm not going to really develop, but I'm going to win a lot more because all the players are better. I go, yeah, but ultimately you're the one, like that's a very, when you really think about that as a parent, and you hear it all the time, right? In this world of social media and sound bites, do you want the best 8-year-old or do you want the best 18-year-old? Like, what is your mission? Is your mission to create the best kid when it matters, or do you want the best kid when it doesn't matter at all? And this is the thing we struggle with as coaches and parents and organizations all the time, because everybody's in the moment right now. If you're winning now, people think that means something, but then you wonder why you take the snapshot of those kids and there's only 2 of them still playing hockey at 18 years old. I'll go with my record of knowing where players go than your record when you're a first-time hockey parent at 8 years old.
Yeah, and I gotta say this. A little off topic, but I gotta say it. I have never in a job interview once been asked about the Bantam Championship that my team won in 1997, which is true. I've never been asked about it. Now, I am very blessed to be at a point in my coaching career where I actually do have some hockey things on my resume that people do ask about, but that's a blessing. All right. The truth is this, what's happened to me more than not, especially early on in my career, which is 20 years ago. I didn't want to say that, but when I started getting into the real world, you know what? I would get a lot of interviews. Oh, I see you played sports.
Yeah.
Not, oh, I see you won a title here. It's, oh, I see you played sports.
Yeah.
I see you played hockey. We love that here.
Yeah.
They don't care if we won.
Yeah.
Right. And I'll tell you what, I didn't go like, yeah, I won a Bantam Championship in 1997. Like, oh yeah, no, I learned a lot about teamwork. My coaches taught me this. So I just wanted to make the broad point on this. But this episode is about refocusing. Sorry, we're getting into another topic.
No,
here,
but it's funny because this just happened. I ran into one of Sophia's coaches when she was in Mike, and he wanted to get all caught up on, how's Sophia? Where did she end up? And he mentioned, he said, I remember she was the only girl on the team, and she got player of the tournament that we were at in Buffalo.
As a mite?
As a mite,
Amazing.
she was such a hustler. He said, I knew she would go on to play hockey. And I filled him in, yeah. She went on to play college hockey, and now she's in law school. He just beamed. He said, I loved coaching her. I absolutely loved coaching her. And I said, well, you were one of her favorite coaches. I have to tell you, she'll remember you right away. So yes, you do impact these kids, and you do have an influence on their very young lives, and they carry that with them. So remember that, coaches.
Yeah.
Also,
he's a big part of that.
Yeah, he felt like I helped there.
Yeah.
I helped get her up the ladder. But I also want to say just a note on giving up on teams and that tendency to want to just
get us back on track, Christie, please.
Yeah, but just remember this. I have seen teams where kids have stayed together for years, right? And right away when you're watching the game, you see it. The chemistry, the camaraderie, the friendship. You can see the difference it makes when kids stay together through the years.
Yeah.
It's pretty magical. So before you give up, just think about what you might be losing instead of what you think you're going to gain.
Yeah.
So there's something to be said for being loyal to a team, to your kids, to what's best for your little one at this stage of the game. Don't be so quick to just yank them because you think it's going to be grass is greener on the other side. Isn't always the case.
No, common theme, Christie. And I'll tell you too, to your point, parents, just a little tip on that. If you are thinking about leaving, make sure you have a conversation with your kids or where they're at, and don't talk a lot. Listen to them. Don't try and implant what you want to do.
Excellent.
I've seen that. It's like, no, kids probably having a better time than you think. All right.
Yeah.
I will say, we always, and this will segue into like the final couple things here. There are reasons sometimes to leave. Okay. Maybe you moved, All right. You're in a different town. If there's extreme bullying, there are sometimes reasons to go. I'm not negating that, but it's actually in the minority. All right. Most of the time, the people who switch teams are doing it because of the record or something like
Right.
that. Okay.
Yeah.
We also have to just give a quick kind of mindfulness note of just burnout, right? It's very important to pay attention to that, parents and coaches. If you're seeing a kid who's really burnt out, put yourself in the kid's perspective right now. Like they're halfway through school, like not even, right? There's a lot going on. Depending on their age, there's a lot going on. All this hockey on top of it. They have homework. Just do a little tap on your kids and make sure they're okay. All right, mentally. I'm not saying pull them from hockey or anything like that. This is the time of year to be like, hey, how are you doing? And really let them talk to you. Okay. I think that's a super point to the reset is making sure as parents and coaches, we touch base with them before we move forward. And Christy, to your point too, about keeping kids together, this is where the team building stuff comes in.
Yeah.
Like when I do team building, I try and intermix the teams. I want them all to know each other. That's a great point of it. All right. To close this out, let's just take a, like to get it completely back on track, making the next 2 months matter. There's 2 months left in the season for most of you, right? Let's just talk about what's one thing each of us thinks families can do between now and the end of the season to make the entire experience better on ice or off ice. Who wants to go first on that? I was throwing it around.
I could go. I think really just coming to mind, the first thing you do if you're a family member with your child is come up with your like 3 things, 3 things list, right? Just 3 things positive, 3 things negative, what you could fix and what are attainable. Not like I want to win the championship at the end of the year. It's, hey, I want to get more time on the penalty kill. I want the coach to acknowledge that I knew something in the game more than he does now or she does now. Like give 3 things that you don't need a whole list. You don't need this crazy, 10 paragraphs of what you want to do. Just 3 things that you've loved what you've done so far this season and 3 things that you want to improve on before the season ends and that are attainable because you're the parent. You're able to say like, well, you can't score 90 goals. You've only scored 1 goal in your career. Like, so that's not attainable. But why don't we think about, where you could contribute on the team and find something that they can reach and feel and see and then help them get to the end of the year. And it's going to help you too as a parent because then you're cheering for the same thing that you set the goal for your kid.
Right. And this is a good time too to hit the reset button for parents. I mean, take a moment and reflect on what you've done or for the team. If you've been that negative Nelly, you can turn things around, right? And if you've been that positive force, keep it going. If you've been neutral, you haven't done anything, well, now's your time to say, hey, I can step up. I can make the final stretch of the season memorable for the team, for parents. Plan some things, do some fun stuff with the kids, have the parents over, get together, get to know each other a little better if you haven't done that yet. And I love what Mike said about setting goals because now you've got a good perspective as kids and parents of what you've been able to accomplish, what you haven't hit, and make small goals. You don't have to make huge goals, just little steps that when the season ends, you can look back and say, wow, my kid's so much better at passing. My kid's skating has improved. He's really taking some good shots on that net instead of hitting the goalie's stomach, So there's lots of little things that you can do to set as goals to make the season something that you'll be really proud of.
I agree with both of you. My final note here is more of a reminder to parents of those 3 things you should be saying to your kids before every practice, every game, which is one of our most popular episodes. But if you're not doing this, get back in the habit of doing it. I love you no matter what happens out there. I love watching you play and work hard, have fun and get better. Learn something today. If you're not consistently, I cannot recommend this enough. If you are not consistently saying that to your kid before every situation, get in the habit of doing that. All right. It has major effects. It creates that safe environment for your child. They should feel safe around you. Okay. I'm not saying safe space. I'm saying feel safe around you. Okay. And it allows them to play without the fear of disappointing you as the parent, which in my opinion No kid should be playing that way. I know some of us were raised that way. That every statistic shows that is not the method anymore. Your kids are aware of mental health. They should feel safe around you. I love you no matter what happens. I love watching you play. Work hard, have fun, get better. That's my parting advice for the rest of the season.
Great
episode,
advice.
guys. Yeah, always fun. We're getting to the end of the year here. We got some exciting shows coming up for you. Make sure you stay tuned because we do this year round. We don't stop because we don't know how to take a break. All right. We also love doing what we do. So with that said, for Mike Benelli, Christie Cascio Burns, I'm Lee Elias. Remember, if you have any topics you'd like us to go over, you have a question about this show, email us, team@ourkidsplayhockey. And there's always the link accompanying the episode in the description. Tap on that. Tell us your name, where you're from, any questions or comments you want us to discuss. A lot of our episodes are inspired by you. We can keep it anonymous if you want. Anonymous. We unanimously agree it can be anonymous. That's a broadcasting term right there. We'll see you on the next episode of Our Kids Play Hockey, everybody. Take care.